When you get the chance, go stand by the ocean. Not to swim, not to take pictures, just stand there. And let it remind you of something. That you are small. And that the water has been here before you, and that the water is going to be there when you're gone. And in the great symphony of humanity, in the entire orchestra of human history, you and I are but one note. A single note. Beautiful, necessary, and brief. Memento Mori. It's Latin and means remember you must die. Another way of saying that would be amor fati, which is the love of fate. The Roman generals knew it. And when a victorious commander rode through the streets of Rome in triumph, with the crowds roaring, laurels at his head, a servant would walk behind him and whisper those words in his ear. Remember, you must die. Not to diminish the moment, but to keep the human inside of the moment. And that is what Law 18 is all about. Meditate on your own mortality. And the strange, liberating, clarifying power of looking at mortality directly. Robert Greene closes this book, all 18 laws, with this one. And I think that choice was intentional, because everything else in this book is about how to navigate life more wisely. And this law is about why it matters that you do live life more wisely. Greene's central argument is both simple and deeply uncomfortable. Greene writes, by connecting to the reality of death, we connect more profoundly to the reality and the fullness of life. By separating death from life and repressing our awareness of it, we do the opposite. When we push death away, when we refuse to look at it, refuse to feel it, refuse to let it sit with us, we do not become more alive. We become less alive. We become cautious, distracted, numb. We waste times on things that do not matter because we've convinced ourselves that we'll always have more time. And there will not always be more time. That's the law. And there's a certain freedom that comes to a person when they accept that they will die. You realize that no one and nothing can torment you for forever. And you begin to see how even the actions of your enemies, others' opinions, and life's challenges are greatly insignificant in that chorus of humanity. And all that matters is how you play your one note. His historical anchor in this chapter is Flannery O'Connor. And in 1951, the writer Flannery O'Connor was diagnosed with lupus at 25 years old. And she already knew what the diagnosis meant because it had killed her father. And now it was coming for her. What happened next is one of the most remarkable things in American literary history. She didn't stop writing. She actually wrote more. She wrote with such a ferocity and a precision and a clarity that most writers never find in a lifetime of good health. As her body deteriorated, her work deepened. As her time shortened, her vision sharpened. She had once said that anyone who survived childhood had enough material to write for the rest of their life. And she spent the rest of her life proving it. Flannery O'Connor died in 1964 at 39 years old. And she left behind a body of work that is still being studied, still taught, and still read, because it is alive in a way that most writing is not. The reason it is alive is because she wrote it in the full awareness that she was going to die. Not as a distant philosophical concept, but as a daily reality. Death did not diminish Flannery O'Connor. It clarified her. And we have to talk about that because death is a very uncomfortable topic. So much so that here in the West, we have developed this toxic relationship with death, when it's really not complicated at all. We just don't want to have to deal with it. If you're dying, we put you in a hospital. If we're grieving, we give you a timeline to go through grieving. If you bring death up in a conversation, people get uncomfortable and change the subject. We have a negative relationship with death. And because that relationship is negative, we oftentimes put more emphasis on it than the life that living in light of death gives us. So much so that our fear of death has caused us to look at aging as if it is closer to approaching death, as opposed to aging as the accumulation of lifetime experiences. Both are true. But we focus on death's impact. We've built an entire culture around avoiding the one thing that is guaranteed to happen to every single one of us. And that is costing us something real. Because when you cannot look at death, you cannot come fully alive. You make decisions as if you had unlimited time. You hold grudges as if they're worth holding. You postpone things that matter. You spend energy on petty conflicts and foolish comparisons, and the performance of life becomes more important than actually living life. Death doesn't care what you want to see and what we don't. Death arrives on its own schedule. And life, in its grand, cosmic, comedic balance, has a way of reminding us of death, whether we're ready for it or not. The question is not whether or not you'll be reminded. The question is whether or not you let the reminder change you. In my life, I've had a lot of friends die, which sounds horrible. I was in the military, but most of them weren't tied to military service. I'm 31 years old. I just feel 40. And at 31 years old, I've lost at least 7 friends. People I grew up with, people I have memories with. And losing 7 people by the age of 30, I would say is uncommon. There are people who've lost 7 friends by the age of 10. But experiencing life in light of its brevity, seeing the shortness and how someone who is a good person or healthy or any of the right things can suddenly be snatched from this life really makes you see it differently. And there's a process of grieving that we all must go through in that. And don't get me wrong, that part of that grieving is the anxiety of impending death. But after you get through the grieving and after you get through the anxiety, you realize that you are here still. And if you are still here, I like to think that there's a purpose of why I'm still here. And that there's something that I can do. I've been given a gift of today to be able to do something. Today I'm recording a lot of videos, but I have this season of my life. I have friends, I have loved ones that I don't cherish enough. I have opportunities that I have not acted on enough. I have these beautiful things that are in front of me. I have an amazing team. I have the most amazing team I've ever worked with in my business. So for me, living in the light of reality, much like we talked about in Law 17, where there is an ebbing and flowing of life, where at some point all the responsibility is on you and you have all the power, and then you yield that power to the next as you approach death. And knowing the fact that death comes for you, all of us, needs to remind us to cherish every second that we have. Whether it is a moment where we are out in the sun looking at the ocean, or the moment where we are absolutely burdened with responsibilities. In the moments that you are laughing so much your sides hurt, or in the moments where you don't know how you're going to make it to tomorrow. You are here. And you are still alive. And that means you still have the opportunity to do something with this life that you have. And there's already a lot of people who are way too young to go, who have already left us. And in their memory, we have the opportunity to become something great, to resist the downward pull, to not live as if this moment is all that we have, but to live in the forethought of legacy, not only in your own life, in your 40 to 50-year plan, but the generations who will follow you in your posterity. We have the opportunity. And just like Robert Greene said in Law 15, I believe, that we have a responsibility to the world to steward it into something that is better than what we have. And we cannot rest on the laurels of what we've been given with the precious gift that is the life that we have today. Because someday that life will be gone. For all of us, that life will be gone. And we will be left, we won't care because we'll be dead. Our children will be left in the wake of what we chose to do with our lives. The question I would have for you all is, did we make the world better? Like that same quote from the movie Kingdom of Heaven. What man is a man that does not make the world better? You have this life. That is my personal thoughts on that. I'm getting back to the teleprompter. So what to do with this? So what does Memento Mori actually look like in practice? Not as a philosophy, as a daily way of moving through the world. First off, let it clarify what matters. Most of the things we spend our energy on would not survive the question, does this matter if I only have a year left? You know what's so odd about that question too is, again, most things are not going to matter if you only had a year left, but you don't know if you have a year left. You don't know if you have a matter of minutes. So does this thing matter if I'm going to be gone tomorrow? If it's a petty squabble, a grudge, vying for status, undercutting someone so you can get ahead, it doesn't matter. Purpose, it's not going to matter when you're gone. Because none of it survives if you don't. What survives is the work that you actually believe in. What survives is the relationships that you've cultivated. What survives are the things that you are building that will outlast you. I think it was Lin-Manuel Miranda that said, legacy is planting a garden I butchered it. Legacy is planting seeds in a garden that you'll never see. Have you thought about that? Second, let it make you more present. Anxiety around death comes from living anywhere or anytime but now. We look into the future and we fear what may happen. Or we live in the past and mourn that what has already happened. But the awareness of mortality, truly held, pulls you back into this moment. This conversation, this workout, this person in front of you. Because this moment is the only one you are guaranteed to have. This Kung Fu Panda quote, I know it's a kid's movie, but it's one of the greatest quotes of all time. Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift, and that's why it's called the present. Now, third, let it connect you with everyone around you. Robert Greene describes walking through a crowd and seeing every person as someone who is facing their own mortality. Think about what that does to you. It makes you softer, more patient, more generous. Because the person who you cut off in traffic, the member who complained, the competitor who frustrates you or provokes you, they are all carrying the same weight that you are. And that's richer for poor. Every person in every corner has to face the same reality. We are all here for just a breath of time. And what we do with that breath, how we treat each other inside of it, is the only thing that we can control. That and our attitude and response to everything else that's going wrong. That goes from the tip top of every society all the way down to the most intimate of relationships and includes your gyms. Every class that you run, every athlete you coach, every relationship you build inside those walls, you are doing something that outlasts that hour. You are part of someone else's story. Remember that. So, to conclude, Flannery O'Connor had 14 years to live with lupus, and she used every single one of them. Not because she was extraordinary, but because she was clear. And she knew what she had, and she knew it was finite, so she did not waste it. And that's what Memento Mori is asking of you. It's not about being afraid of death. It's not about being consumed by the fear of death. It's just the awareness of it that makes you come alive, more present, more intentional, more honest with what actually matters. Because we are all a single note in this orchestra. Play your note. Play it well, play it fully, and play it while you can. What we do in this life echoes in eternity. Thank you for being with us, with me, for this series. We have an outro video, and we're going to move on to the next book. But if these conversations have meant something to you, please share them. Subscribe, and we're going to keep going, making the most of every moment we have. I'm Colin Charles. This is Enoch Marketing. We'll talk to you next time.